Hello, I'm Leona Dooley, and this is Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme, where we work hard, we love God and family, and we know without a doubt that everything else is just gravy. This week is going to be a special one. Stay tuned. We are off to a wonderful week, and this week we're starting with Memorial Day. Now, as you know, I did some pre-cooking last week and some preparation for what's going to go on this week. And so I found out, we always have surprises, and I found out that we're actually going to be going out for Memorial Day. So I don't have to do quite as much cooking for Monday as I had planned. Now, so what that means is not that I can kick back, but it just means that I will put some of that food into some other delicious dishes for this week. I am so appreciative to each of you for the time that you spend viewing Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme in the kitchen. I enjoy having you in the kitchen with me each week. So, without further ado, stay with me and let's have a blessed week.
Well, good morning. I'm getting strawberries ready for the freezer. And this is strawberry season, so I found 4 of these for $5. And they are beautiful strawberries. So I am going to cap them, and I'm going to just kind of put a little bit of, teeny tiny bit of sugar on them, and then I'm going to have them ready for the freezer. They're going to get dropped into the bag, and I'm going to get right in. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to take the cap off. My little vegetable spoon, it just scoops that top right out. I'm going to leave these whole for now, because should I decide to use them and I want them more decoratively, sometimes I put them in my water jug, and I just think they come out very pretty. And so I'm taking the tops off. I'm going to bring you back just a little bit. Make sure that you can see what I'm doing. Whoops, too far. Wrong direction. There we go. So, let's get her done. 4 containers of these beautiful strawberries. Oh. Plus, you don't want strawberries to go bad. Sometimes I make strawberry jelly, but I have some, so I'm not going to do that right now. Now, that's not to say I won't later, because you can use frozen strawberries for that as well. I would have put these into quart containers, but I'm out of my plastic quart containers. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to lay them flat as I can get them. That way I can just break off what I need when I need it. So I'm going to continue taking, that's 1 quart down. I'm going to continue taking the tops off these, and when I have all of them finished, then I'll bring you back. All right, well, as you can see, these are all of the strawberries from the rest of the quarts. And so that's going to be 4 in total. And I'm looking at this thinking, whoo, I'm going to need some extra, maybe an extra bag. I'll see. So here's my bag that I'm going to be using. And I'm putting it off to the side. I'm trying to get as many strawberries in there as possible. But I'm thinking I will need 2, maybe, because I do want to keep them flat, if at all possible, fairly flat anyway. We'll see. Maybe I'll do 2 layers. because I really don't want to tie up 2 bags. But you know what? It is what it is. So there we go. Because I want to be able to break these easily if needed. So, let's see. I think they'll be okay. I'm just going to throw these in. And we'll deal with it on the other end if we have to. Because what's going to happen, once the sugar's in there, they're going to kind of break down a bit before they actually freeze solid. Now I'm going to remove this. And I got my spoon. All that's going away. So let's get all of those strawberries. Oops, I bumped you. Let's get all of those strawberries right there. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take my sugar and I'm going to use a spoon actually. Ooh, I'm making a mess. And I'm going to go in there with the sugar. And just sprinkle. Okay. Now I'm going to flip this over. Make sure I get the other side. You see, some of it's there, but I want to make sure I have them pretty well sweetened. All right, I think that's enough. Now, I'm going to try to squeeze most of the air out. Get this good and zipped securely. This is one of those double zips. And I'm kind of lay it out. And it's okay to give it a little rub along the way. Just to make sure that sugar is in there nicely. And voila, we have 4 quarts of strawberries ready. Now, what I'm thinking is that I'm going to need this. I've got company coming in several times actually this summer when I may want to have strawberry shortcake. And if I continue to get strawberries and put them in a nice container like this, I should have enough strawberries prepared to not have to go out and purchase anything. It will be right there in my freezer. I also wanted you to see that once I got those strawberries into the freezer, that I placed one of those little Dollar Tree placemats underneath, because this has that wire type of shelf, and I don't want these to do what sometimes happens where your strawberries fall down into the middle of those wires and it's very difficult to get out. So I am ready, and these are going to be frozen. It is bright and early this morning, and we are going to, I have peeled these apples, and we're going to slice them up so that I can use them in my upside down cake. Now, as you know, the cake is not going to be baked today, but it's actually going to be baked a little later, just because I want it, got it at the close to the last minute, because I want it good and hot when it's time to serve it to our friends. So I'm going to cut I'm going to cut these apples in half. I'm going to quarter it. I hope you can see, I'm taking the center out. Let's get a little closer and get you right there. All right, so we're going to take the center out. Then I'll put those off to the side. Let's get all of those done. I don't like the seeds or any of that to show up. And besides, if I do it any other way, they won't be pretty. So I'm going to continue doing this until I have those apples finished. That's how many apples I need for the pan to go on the bottom, because this is going to be an apple upside down cake. So I'm going to continue, and when I get ready to slice them, I'll bring you back. All right, now just to keep in mind, I have 2 Granny Smith apples and 2, today I have 2 Fuji's, because I wanted Yellow Delicious, but unfortunately they didn't have any Yellow Delicious. I'm just going with what we got. And because an apple, you know, just a sweet apple. So Fuji's are usually pretty good. And if I have any left over, the big guy absolutely loves Fuji's. So they won't be wasted, needless to say. So I am flipping these over and just cutting very thinly. This is a nice knife. This is a Tupperware product that has its own self sharpener that I like to use. I don't always, but it's one of my go-to knives. Now I'm going to put all of this into a Ziploc bag. I'm going to sprinkle, make a mixture of a little bit of salt, cinnamon, and sugar. I'm going to sprinkle it into the bag with the apples, and they're going to be left overnight. That'll give them time enough to soak up all that goodness. They'll be nice and sweet and ready for tomorrow when I bake the cake. You know, we've already prepped the dry portion of the cake, so it's not going to take long. When I get home from church, I'm going to be ready to bake. Now, I have to ask, do you have anyone in your family who has died in the war or any wars? My father did not pass in the war, but he certainly was a veteran. And he has gone on at this point. My son served as well in Iraq, and he's doing quite well, he and his family. And so when I think of these kinds of holidays, not only do I think of those who have fallen, but I also think of those who either are still serving or have served. So let's keep all of them in our hearts, our prayers, because, you know, those who have come back, while they may certainly, we're excited that they make it back, but many of them come back and they have some problems. And so let's try to help get them through those problems. All right, I have all of my apples in the bag, and I have a little bowl here that I'm not going to try to bring you back you up a little bit. There we go. And what I'm going to do is to sprinkle some cinnamon, about half teaspoon of cinnamon. I think that'll be more than enough. Sugar, I have a little less. This is a 3/4 cup, and I probably have about half of that. I don't think we'll need all of that, but I have about half. And now we need some salt, and I have to go get that, so hold on. Okay, so we'll put in about a half, well, I don't think I need that much salt. Just a little sprinkle of salt, just enough to bring, I'll say about 1/4 of a teaspoon, enough to bring the flavor and the sugar and the sweetness of the apples out. Now I'm going to give it a good stir. As you can see, and Okay, I think we have that well mixed, almost. Okay, now, got my apples, and I'm going to sprinkle. Maybe see if I can back you up, get you a little higher. So you can see better. Okay, now, so I'm going to take this and literally, I've got a good teaspoon, and I'm going to sprinkle a couple of those teaspoons into this bag. Now, I'm going to close it up, and I'm going to give it a good shake. Because I want all of those apples to have some of the cinnamon, the sugar, all of it on each of those apples. Now, the reason I'm not so worried about the sugar is because there's going to be butter and brown sugar in the bottom of the pan, just like you do with a pineapple upside down cake. So you'll get that brown sugar molasses flavor in the bottom. We just want to make sure that every apple has good flavor. So that's what we're doing. We just trying to make sure it's all done. And I do the same thing for an apple pie. There we go. That's pretty good. I think I may put in, I have just a little more. So I'm going to sprinkle in 1 more teaspoon of that. And since I have this out, I'm going to go ahead and add that last little bit of sugar. I don't think it'll hurt. Just adds to the flavor. And let's give it another good shake. Now, those apples, these apples are ready, and I am going to put them into, I was going to put them in the freezer until the morning. I think that's what I'll do, because otherwise they'll just get a little too brown, and I don't really want that. So I'll put them in the freezer and then just take them out in the morning before I go to church. See you then. All right, I got the apron on, and I'm going to make sure that I stay nice and clean, because it won't be long when I need to scoot out of the house. So let me get this tied, and I'm cooking this particular cake in a Wilton pan. Now, under normal circumstances, I'd probably just spray it and go, but because I want it to be extra special, I'm taking the wrappers, the butter wrappers from the butter that I put into my pan, my baking mixing bowl, and I am going to take that and I'm going to flip them so I can rub this goodness all over the inside of this pan. So let me get you where you can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to point you down. All right, so I'm taking my butter wrapper and I am rubbing it all inside of my Wilton pan. Don't forget the center part, because it needs a little slathering as well. I think with the apples that there's going to be a certain amount of stickiness. You know how it is with pineapple upside down cake. I even had a little butter left over here. So we will not waste the butter. So we just put that in the bottom of the pan. It will add to the goodness of the bottom layer where the apples are going to be. Now, you know, I prepared the apples last week. I have them here, and I'm going to get them open. Now, what I'm going to do, they've been sliced and they're ready to go. So I'm going to take these, and I kind of want them in some type of pattern. So I'm going to try to figure out what that pattern is going to be. I think I'm just going to start in kind of little layers, turn them on all the same way. And I want it to be pretty once it flips out. I'll get some more. These are still a little, I don't know why those are in there. These are still a little frozen. And I put them in there, got them all seasoned, and froze them. So let's put those in. I want them to cover the bottom. I really wasn't quite sure how many apples I would need. I had said you would need 2, and I think that's what I actually cut up. 2 Granny Smiths and 2 of the, what was supposed to be Golden Delicious, but ended up as Fuji's. Whatever you have, that's the main thing. Now I'm going to put a little more. And you see, I seasoned these with cinnamon and sugar. And just a touch of salt, because that would help to give it flavor as well. So I'm trying to make sure I have plenty of apples in the bottom. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to drizzle it with some brown sugar. So let's put the brown sugar on it. My hands are sticky. I need to rinse those off. Now I'm guesstimating that I'm going to put in about a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and that's what I'm guessing. I have a 1/4 cup here, but it may take just a little bit more, and you'll have to play with yours. It really depends on the size of your pan, because you want that brown sugar flavor, just like you do when you're fixing your pineapple upside down cake. Don't worry about any that ends up on the side. I think we'll give it just a little bit more. Just kind of sprinkle it in, because remember, the cake is going to go on top. Now, the cake that's going to go in here is buttery. Now, I'm going to drizzle some butter, a little bit, about a 1/2 stick of melted butter on top of this so it can cook. All right, I've got my melted butter, and I am going to just drizzle. I'm trying to let it finish melting here. And I am going to just kind of drizzle a little bit of that butter into the pan, because that's going to help to melt the brown sugar, and you want it all the way around the pan. Okay, and that's in there, and that's ready to go. Now remember, this is one of those recipes that we're working through, and I'm just taking you on the journey. Why not try it out? It's something I'm trying that's new. I could not find a recipe that actually did this. So that's why I'm trying this on my own. Okay, we're going to make it ours. So I'm going to sit this off to the side. I've got the KitchenAid right here, and I have 2 sticks of butter in my KitchenAid. I want you to see this delicious apple cake. Look at the top. You can see the apples have caramelized on top. It came out perfectly. Sitting on the cake pan. I apologize for the fact that I was not able to do the voice. So because of that, I had to speed it up. We had someone in the house, so that didn't work out. And I've got to figure out how to do voiceover, so I'm working on that. That's a work in progress. Take care. Hello, my friends. Today, we are going to be making some green beans for a cookout. And everybody's bringing a dish, and I was asked to bring the green beans. Now, my favorite green beans are the ones that I'm going to fix today. My girlfriend, La, makes slamming food. And she makes these green beans that truly, I don't care how much she makes, by the end of the night, they're all gone. Even if you have to eat them after all the other food is gone, you want some more green beans. So, I am going to make her green beans today. And you're going to find out they're not difficult to do. It's just a matter of taking the time to put all the goodies in there. So, let's do it together. Now, I have just a little bit of prep work to do. And as you can see, I'm holding 2 little teeny tiny potatoes. I bought this bag of potatoes, and they're actually just regular russets. I bought russets because I want them to release their starches into the green beans. It's just going to make for a really good vegetable, what I call gravy. And in fact, it's funny because at the end, when all the green beans are gone, the gravy that's down in there, I use it in soup. So I'm going to take these little potatoes. I'm going to probably cut them into fourths, and I've got a couple more, so I'm going to do about 4 because of the size and the amount of green beans that we're going to have. I'm using just plain old frozen green beans. I've got a good bag of those, a couple of bags, and we are going to have some great green beans. I also have an onion. My onion, I'm literally going to cut it into fourths and put it in there. Going to put a little bit of bacon in there in the bottom to get it all started. And then we're going to be sailing. These green beans are going to be smelling up the house with goodness. Get ready. Okay, you'll see that I have bacon that I have broken up. This was actually frozen. What I do is that I buy a bag of what they call bacon pieces. And it's a pretty good sized bag, lasts quite a while. And probably for green beans, that's probably about the only time that I really use bacon. An occasional bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich, but that's rare. So I have bacon in the bottom of this pan, and I'm going to sprinkle it with some pepper and you know, I have my seasoning. I'll give you the recipe of the seasoning that's at the bottom. But I'm going to sprinkle this bacon with some pepper because bacon has plenty of salt, but it doesn't have the pepper. And in my seasoning, there is a little bit of salt, but we're going to need some salt for the green beans. So I'm going to add in a teaspoon of my seasoning. And I can always add more, but you certainly can't take away. This is paprika, red pepper flakes, garlic powder, actually pepper, and salt. So that's in this mix. Now, I'm going to let that cook for just a little while. I'm going to get my wooden spoon so I can give it a little whirl in a few minutes. Just kind of move it around because I don't want it to stick on my cast iron. I have it at a medium temperature, medium to medium high. And as it starts to break apart, you'll start to see a few more pieces. Now, I'm going to take this bacon out once it has rendered all of its juices. And you're going to see I'll start to push them off to the side, and I'm going to add the onion. Now I cut my onion into, it's a half an onion. I cut it into thirds, and I'm just going to let that cook and let it give off its juices. That's what onions do while the bacon's cooking. And if it breaks, if it breaks apart, that's fine. And keeping that moving. And then I'm going to add in the potatoes. And I'm going to try to put them down so that their little cut part is on the bottom of the pan. And I like to do this because it allows the potato to get a little crispy, and then if someone wants to eat the potato, it's good. You don't want just a glob of potato in there. And I'll flip it around and change sides so that all the sides have an opportunity, equal opportunity to get brown. Now this is going to they'll stick a few minutes, and that's okay, but when they're ready, they'll release themselves. And like I said, this is on a medium setting. Okay, as you imagine, the potatoes and onions don't come seasoned either. And even though I have a little bit of seasoning that's down in there on the bottom, I'm just sprinkling with a little pepper just to add a little extra. Now notice this. I'm over here at that potato, and he's stuck just a little bit. That's what I wanted to do. So let me try to turn him over. And you can start to see he's going to start to get brown as that bacon continues to render. But the bacon's still in there, and it's not totally done yet. I'm going to break some of those onions up. I'm just kind of taking a piece of bacon, kind of rub on the surface. It gives you some nice oily surfaces to work with. Now this takes a little while, so you just have to be patient with it. Now I want you to see that down inside, let's see if I can get you close enough. Oh, well, you can see it. See down inside where you can see all the little sticky stuff that's down there? Well, in time, all of that, once I get the broth in and the green beans in and the moisture starts to get in there, all of that, as I stir, will start to lift itself off of the bottom of this pan. Now you'll see that the bacon's still working and doing its job of rendering its fat. And that fat is what's helping the onions and the potatoes to get brown. Now they aren't quite as brown as I'd like for them to be just yet. But you can see the bacon's still soft. It's not hard and crispy. So I'm going to let that stay in there for a little while and let those potatoes continue to do what they need to do. All right, now here we go. I am going to add 1 capful, which is going to be about a tablespoon, just short of a tablespoon of olive oil. Hear that? Because that's going to help the potatoes and the onions. See how they're picking up? I can take my spoon and kind of crisp things up. That's going to help pick up some of that cooking. Now I'm going to go and get a plate that I'm going to take this bacon out onto. I'm going to remove that bacon. Take those out and put them on this plate. Now, if the big guy comes in and he wants a bacon and lettuce and tomato sandwich, he's got some bacon, because I'm not going to put the bacon back in there. It's just strictly for getting the dish started. Because everyone, while they're okay with bacon seasoning, they may not want to actually eat the bacon. So, you know, it is what it is. I think all things in moderation. God put it all on the earth for us. He didn't tell us to pig out. Get my drift? Okay, my potatoes are looking good. My bacon's off to the side. And I am going to add 2 cups of chicken broth. 2 cups of chicken broth at this point. Now, I may have to add a little extra along the way, but I don't think so. And here's the secret ingredient. I am going to add a teaspoon of sugar. Now, here's my teaspoon. I don't even need to. There you go. There's your teaspoon right there. So, I'm going to sprinkle that in. Stir that up. It's going to give those potatoes a great taste. And I'm going to look over and see if I have just a little bit of vinegar, because I want about a tablespoon of vinegar in there. Oh yeah, I've got some apple cider vinegar, so I'm going to add a cap full of apple cider vinegar. That's going to give it a little tang, just enough. You're not going to really notice it, but I tell you, between the sugar and the bacony flavor in the bottom. Now, what I'm doing at this point, see how dark that's starting to get? That's because I'm pulling up all the bits that were on the bottom of my cast iron pan. You know, I love a brazier, and there we go. All right. Now, I've got a tiny little bit of sugar left over there. I didn't use all of it. Now, I am using, as I told you, frozen green beans, and this is 2 pounds that I'm putting in. But I think I'm probably, because you know, once they cook, they're going to cook down. I'm probably going to put in a second bag, because I'm not just fixing for me, I'm fixing for other people. So I'm going to go ahead and put these 2 bags. That's 4 pounds of green beans. And these are great. These are called Today's Harvest. You get them at Publix, and they're a Publix brand. Oh my goodness. You can see, I mean, they are just great. They look good. They smell good. Now, I can already tell we're going to need some more broth, and that's okay. But I'm trying to bring some of the seasoning up to the top, and about every 30 minutes or so, I'll just come and give things a flip. Now, so let me put some more broth in, and then we're going to put the top on it, put it on low, and let it go, low and slow. Okay, I'm adding 2 more cups of broth. 2 more, so that's 4 in total. Or if you're buying it by the box, it's pretty much 1 whole box. Just short. Well, actually a little over your 4 cups. But that's going to do it. Now this is going to have the most delicious gravy that's going to be down in there. Those potatoes are going to be perfect. Now I am just moving things around, and I'm not going to add any more seasoning until it's almost ready. So it is on a low. I've got the top on it, and this baby's going to cook for, I'm not going to even touch it, for the next hour. I'm just going to see where it is at the end of that hour. And I'll let you take a look. I have it on a setting. My setting goes from low is 1 up to 9 is high. And I have it on a 3. I'm going to put it on a 3, and it's 12 noon. So really, by dinner time, this is going to be perfect. Enjoy. It's been about an hour, and I'm going to take the top off. Take a look at our green beans. Like I said, we're doing them low and slow. I'm able to move them around much easier at this point. You can tell the potatoes are starting to cook. And because they're at this point where they're starting to get a little juicy, remember they were frozen, I am going to bring up the heat enough to get them to simmer. And I'm going to leave the top off for just a few minutes so I can see when it simmers. And once it starts simmering, I'll put the top on it and then let it go. All right? Well, those green beans look absolutely delicious. I cannot wait to take them down to my friend's house for dinner. So, happy Memorial Day. God bless those who have fallen soldiers that are in their family. We just love you, and we pray that you are well and well taken care of. God bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow in the kitchen.